when the fixtures for this year's Six Nations were published, Ireland versus England first round was one of the ones that really stood out. Let's hope this is going to be a cracker. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. It was an exciting game last year. Not the result that most Ireland fans were hoping for. Certainly big G up for the England fans though. And if we can get a similar game this year, albeit from an Ireland point of view a better result, we'll be very pleased with it. These two teams, even world rankings might say a little bit different, but very close in recent years. And I don't think Ireland are going to hockey England or anything like that. But let's have go through some of the details of the game first. So obviously Ireland versus England is on Saturday, 1st of February 2025. It's at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. It's a 4:45 kickoff in for UK and Ireland, and that's 6:45 if you're in South Africa. Last year, England 23, Ireland 22. England deservedly beaten Ireland there. I thought they handled Ireland really well in terms of just controlling the game and not really giving Ireland a sniff. And even though it was a close one, it wasn't. As an Ireland fan, I didn't really feel like it was one that we let get away in terms of we had chances to win, etc. It was more that England deserved the win, and 1 point defeat, although not a win, was as good as I think we were going to get on the day, honestly. Then 2023 was Ireland 29, England 16. England frustrating Ireland a lot on that day and actually playing really well. I'm pretty sure that's the one where they got somebody sent off, right? And yeah, making Ireland work for that win too. And that's what we've got to think of this year as well, is Ireland, even if they hit form, England are still going to make them work for the win. England, they have been getting better, and it's just for them, they're not really putting everything together in one package is kind of the problem. But odds for this game, it's the tightest game of the opening round, and given who's playing in it, it's no surprise really. Ireland 5-2 on favourites for the game, but England 5-2. And when you think about Italy being, I think it's 9-1 or 10-1 or something against Scotland, they're and that's the next best of the of the kind of non-favourite teams. And then 28-1 for the draw as well. So much tighter odds for the draw on this one too. So we're going to have a look at the teams, and then we'll talk about how I think it's going to go. So let me pull up the home team first, if we can get it there. There we go. Okay, so front row for Ireland, starting off Andrew Porter, Ronan Kelleher and Philly Bealham. So no Tyke Furlong in that front row. And Kelleher preferred to Sheehan, who's only just come back from injury as a starter, so that makes sense. Bealham definitely going to have to kind of step up. He's not in as good form as he was last year when he had to deputise for Furlong as well. I thought he did a manful job really last year, filling that 3 short in the absence of Furlong, for a number of games. And we need him to step up to that kind of level, especially in this game, so that we can have a chance. Andrew Porter, they're starting at 1. No real other options, honestly, when you look at who was picked in the squad. It's either Cian Healy, who, they don't seem to want to put on. They want to kind of keep him right till the end. And then young Boyle, who, certainly, I don't think it would take a backward step if you put him in, but it'd be a big game to throw him in for. I think he's reserved, for making his debut unless there's injuries against, I'm not going to say easier opposition because that's disrespectful for the other teams, but maybe in a game that Ireland are expected to have a more comfortable ride. Let's just say that. But yeah, Porter, he's certainly improved this year. Not having as many problems in the scrum, but scrum problems, the thing with them is, you think you fix them and then they come back. And if England kind of get at him, it could be a real problem for Ireland. Now, if every time there's a knock on, there's a chance of us giving away a penalty, that would be, the start of a disaster, at least for us. So he's going to have to go well around, in the set piece and then well around the field too. He's going to have to be a breakdown threat the way he was previously as well, and generally for Andrew Porter, talk about it a lot. If the set piece is going well from the scrum, especially, then we see that more contribution around the field. If the scrum isn't going well for him, he kind of goes in, into himself a little bit, into his shell, and he's not as impactful around the rest, around the field and stuff. So I'm sure England are going to be targeting him to try and disrupt them and disrupt that front row. Kelleher is going to be very important in terms of his first few lineouts, because the Irish lineout has been absolutely atrocious. And, the fact that we have Paul O'Connell, one of the best lineout operators, in his day in the world, running the lineout and not being able to fix it, that really is a worry. For me, that we're having so many problems in that area. And it's not just Ireland, like Leinster having problems as well with their lineout too. And the fact that there's lots of Leinster players in the pack, it doesn't bode well for that, but hopefully that they can get that sorted out. You got James Ryan and Tadhg Beirne then in the second row, because Joe McCarthy is injured. You would have expected it maybe to be like 4, 5, 6 of Ryan, McCarthy, Beirne, but because Tadhg Beirne has moved from 6 into the second row, then Ryan Baird is preferred to start. He's one that for Ireland, especially at the moment, I'd rather see him come off the bench, because I think he's better when the game is a bit more broken and loose. But he has improved his tight game, in recent seasons. So hopefully we can see that in this game. Then Josh van der Fleer, there at 7, has worked really hard, at kind of being more a try threat. And we've seen that, especially with Leinster. Caelan Doris, one of the big carriers for Ireland, and especially with no Joe McCarthy there. Joe McCarthy, did a lot of the kind of the tough carries along with Doris as well. So, James Ryan doesn't carry as much, and Tadhg Beirne, he does carry, but again, not kind of the impact. He's more of a kind of a poacher. And he will obviously do carries, but he's more in there for poaching, and also for kind of maul attack and maul defense as well. So no, Joe McCarthy puts more onus on Doris to carry well. Van der Fleer, he very clever carrier in that he's the one who's going to be looking for the soft shoulders or looking for space rather than running into contact. But when we're carrying into contact, Caelan Doris, he's going to be the main man. I think the halfbacks end, James Gibson Park, not on fire the way he was last year. But he's still a really good 9. I'd like to see him getting back to moving that ball away from the ruck a little bit quicker than he has been for Leinster this season. And also, a failing I've seen him have over, this season and recent seasons as well is, having just to cop on that, England are probably going to attack us at the breakdown and try and turn the ball over, especially when you look at the back row that they picked, right? And having just to cop on to tell guys, listen, I don't need you standing out there in a pod when the ball's getting turned over, every 2 or 3 rucks. we need to have extra players in the rucks here to secure the ball and secure faster ball as well. So hopefully he has the cop on there to do that and not wait, till half time and the coaches tell them that that's what they have to do. Then Sam Prendergast there at 10. A lot of weight on his shoulders. Young guy, just 21 years old. He definitely has the temperament and the skills to do it, but it's still, a big occasion. Certainly the biggest game that he's played in his short career so far. And, obviously going to be targeted by England, and it's up to really Ireland to look after him as best they can, and it's one of those ones, right? We saw kind of, both sides of the coin with Frawley last year, where he, down in South Africa, he's the hero, scoring the drop goal that ties the series, wins the final test. And then in the November internationals, just started badly, dropped the ball, and then nothing went right for them at all. And that's just how it is. And it's going to be the same for Prendergast. I think, get a decent start, get a little bit of confidence going, and things go well. And then if one or two things go wrong after that, well, he can kind of shrug it off, I think, and continue on. Whereas if those couple of things going wrong happen early on, and then England, are getting something out of that in terms of either field position or scores or wherever, then it could be, a long afternoon for him. Then we've got James Lowe there on the left wing, so important, I think, for Ireland, because he's a fantastic finisher, and we always have that, option of his left foot kick, massive boot to just get us out of trouble as well. Bundy Aki, for me, Ireland's best player last year, and in the World Cup year as well. Maybe not at that level this year, but still playing really well. Gary Wingrose there at 13. I'm sure he'd be glad to be back at 13 after, he was in Leinster side defending out on the wing, and it didn't go all that well for him. But at 13, fantastic defender, and also one of our players that can unlock defenses as well. Mac Hansen back after his ban, where he was complaining about the referee, and he got banned for 3 games. So he's back in now for Ireland. And for me, again, I talked about it before. I would have thought that Nash would have done enough to maybe secure that position, but I guess in terms of Easterby and Farrell before him, that Hansen has enough credit in the bank to reclaim his spot for November and then for here as well. But he's delivered so many times for Ireland as well, so you can see why he's on there too. Then you got Hugo Keenan there at full back. Last year I thought he had a poor year, coming back from 7s, and didn't seem to quite adapt back to 15s, to the level that he was before. But he's coming back to that level again now. So going to be interesting as well, because he's really good in the air, but England, the England back 3 are good in the air as well, and there's going to be real contest there. And England, we've seen them before. Basically, they'll put a jumper up, and instead of trying to just cleanly win the ball, they'll try and slap it back on their own side. And Keenan kind of struggled against that tactic previously. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes if that happens again. On the bench then, some decent impact, and then some players that you wonder, could we have gone with other options? So first of all, Dan Sheehan going to have a massive impact from the bench. Cian Healy, I would have like to maybe see him sitting this one out, but you can see why they pick him again. It's experience, the fact that he can cover anywhere across the front row as well. You got Thomas Clarkson there. Hopefully he gets decent minutes, not just kind of thrown on for the last 5, because Bealham, you'd want Bealham just to give everything for like 60 minutes and then Clarkson to come on. Ian Henderson then, I think he's in there simply because Joe McCarthy is injured, and I'm not sure whether he would have been an option on the bench had he not been. I think it might have been Baird actually wearing 19 instead. There are other players who potentially could have come in, but given McCarthy's injury, I think they've gone a little conservative on that. And the problem with Ian Henderson is injuries. I could absolutely see him coming on and then having to go back off because he gets injured. Hopefully not, but it's happened a lot with him in recent times. Then Jack Conan back there as well, covering the back row. I think really good option for him as well, coming on later in the game when maybe it's a little bit looser. And I would kind of wondered, because I thought we would have had Baird on the bench, and I was thinking those two coming off the bench, getting into space and stuff really could be, devastating for us. But I think what will probably happen is, depending on injuries, tiredness, etc. Obviously Henderson's coming on in the second row, but whether he's going to come on for Baird and Byrne switch to 6, I'm not sure on that. I think what might actually happen is you might see, Baird and then one of Ryan and Byrne coming off maybe at the same time, and you'd have Henderson slotting into the second row, Caelan Doris moving to 6, and then Conan going to 8. It would be my guess. Then we have Conor Murray there. A guy that a couple of seasons ago you would have seen me complaining about him being near the Ireland squad because I didn't think he should have been there. I thought we had enough kind of youth coming through, but now honestly believe he's there on merit. He's really has changed his game, sped up his game as well to fit in with the way that Ireland play. So yeah, happy enough to see him on there. Jack Crowley there at 22. In my preview, I said I would have gone, or my preview of the tournament and the look at the Ireland squad as well. I said I think they're going to go with Prendergast at 10, but I would personally go with Crowley. But rotate them through the tournament as well. But whichever one is starting, whichever one is on the bench, I think both of them can deliver for Ireland. Then Robbie Henshaw there in the 23 shirt. He's a fantastic player, but I'd wonder, would you have gone for maybe an Osborne instead there, just for more versatility, and also that ability, his kicking game as well is similar to Lowe, being able to bring him on as well and have two big boots at the back there as well to maybe if you need to get up, if it's a tight game, you need to go up the other end of the pitch, sometimes kicking it and instead of trying to run it is the better way. But Henshaw, excellent player, and I'm sure he'll won't let the side down when he comes on. Okay, so let's have a look then. Let me pull up the England team. So for England, starting from full back, you got Freddie Stewart. Definitely going to be massively competitive in the air, and I think he's probably going to win that aerial battle with Keenan, simply because of that tactic of getting up to first of all disrupt, and then second of all kind of slap the ball down rather than just win it cleanly every time as well. Then right when you got Tommy Freeman, but Stewart, obviously the lack of pace could be a problem in defence, but if England play as smart, there'll be very few chances for him to actually get exposed. Then right wing, Tommy Freeman is there, and then on the left wing you have Caden Murley there too. England just have lots of fantastic wingers. It's about getting the ball in their hands, getting them in space, and them being willing as well to come off their wing at times and go look for work too. So we'll see whether either of those can do that. In the centres then you got Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade. Seems to be finally England have picked a settled centre combination. Now whether they say settled through the tournament, because it happens a lot in English media, one or two defeats, and then suddenly it's like, oh, they're not working. This guy has to play. He shouldn't put on an English shirt ever again, and just lots of hyperbole, really. But like, I like both of those players, and it's just whether they can really click as a combination and combine with Marcus Smith as well, and kind of all play to each other's strengths. Marcus Smith there at 10, is now the established, number one in the 10 shirt for England. So, Ford not involved in the squad at the minute, and hopefully he gets a decent run there. Really like him, as a player. He just brings us something special. Maybe not as good at controlling a game as Ford, but if he can create something out of nothing a couple of times and get England a lead, then people won't care about that. Alex Mitchell then, who I think is probably their best option there at 9. He's got the ability to snipe. He's good at scanning in terms of spotting kind of places to exploit, and also decent passer of the ball, and gets he's got to get that ball away, kind of like Gibson Park as well. Get the ball away from contact as quickly as possible. Front row then you got Ellis Genge, vice captain. Luke Cowan-Dickey is hooker, and then Will Stewart as the tight head. So these guys are all decent players, and it's gonna for both front rows on both the two teams, it's about trying to get that edge at the start. And if you can get that, then you look like $1 million. And if you don't, then you kind of get exposed a little bit, and it can happen to either of these teams' front rows. I think Maro Itoje then is the captain, and I think it was a good decision to do that, to make him the captain, because they needed a captain who was actually going to start for the team, and obviously that wasn't happening. In terms of what's his name, George, right? Wasn't happening for him at all. But Maro Itoje, playing really well. He did have a dip in form, like prior to this season, but he's back on it now this season. Very abrasive player, and gonna lead from the front as well, and the rest of that pack, the rest of that team will be very happy to follow him as well. Then you got George Martin there beside him, and I think himself, Itoje, and Chesham are kind of the triumvirate that for me are the best three options that they have for the second row. Back row, then we could probably see this changing a lot through the tournament, but at the moment it's Tom Curry, Ben Curry, and Ben Earl. So with the two Currys in there, definitely going to be trying to poach a lot. Ben Earl, Ireland have to be very careful of him, because he really can run amok if they don't look after him. And also they got to look after the ball with both Currys there looking to poach. On the bench then you got Theo Dan, Finn Baxter, Joe Hines, Ollie Chesham, Chandler Cunningham South, Tom Willis, Harry Randall, and Finn Smith. So for England, it's kind of an interesting one. That's like a 6-2 split, right? And it can work out for you. We've seen it lots of times. You bring on 6 fresh forwards, gives you the impetus, and then what was a tight game, you can close it out. But if you get injuries in the back line, then you can have scrum halves playing on the wing and stuff like that, and get exposed. So it's a gamble, but if it pays off for you, then it was the right thing to do. But some nice impact from the bench as well. Especially, you look at Chesham is a player that I have a lot of time for. Cunningham South, I think, is definitely better coming off the bench than starting. And then Finn Smith as well, if they can bring him in. It's about whether, with a lot of these, when you have a really decent, option at 10 on the bench, but you have a guy that you really like as well, in terms of playing style, starting at 10 too. It's about, whether when the other guy comes on, are you going to put him at 15, or is he actually going to be a straight swap? So that'll be an interesting one, what to decide there. So how do I think this game is going to go? Well, I think it's going to be another tight one, and there is going to be an aerial battle in the game. Set piece is going to be hugely important. So getting the nudge in the scrum, and also, both teams have had issues in the line-out. Ireland more so than England. But, getting your set piece right is going to be one of the big keys, I think, to winning this game as well. And, because you look at it, your line-out, if it's not going well, then that takes away the ability to kind of attack off the top, which we see kind of Leinster and Ireland doing a lot, and also takes away your ability to go to your maul, and with the likes of Dan Sheehan coming off the bench, he loves to be at the back of a maul and spring off there and score a try, and the same for England as well. If you don't have your set pieces there, it takes away a lot of your platform for you to be able to attack. And then there's so much more, emphasis then on being able to break the opposition down in, with your phase play. And because there's more emphasis on that, then your opposition then can be a little bit more aggressive in defense. I'm expecting both teams to be very aggressive in their defense, and put pressure on you when you're trying to force things and force passes and create errors and potentially create opportunities for themselves as well. So both teams kind of in very similar situations. Obviously, Ireland were off the boil in, through November. England, not a brilliant record over November, but they got close to some really good teams, especially, the one against the All Blacks. So yeah, I think with this one, it's about, it's one of those games where you've got to get a decent start, and I'm not just talking about score, try in the opening couple of minutes. A decent start to me would be, yes, score, try in the first couple of minutes, but then build on that. Whereas if you concede in the first couple of minutes, a decent start would be being able to then get yourself back on par and get, in front before kind of 30 minutes or so on the clock. So whoever can kind of do that, and then, if you can get a decent start, and then that fourth quarter, the 20 minutes between 40 and 60 minutes, that could be where the game ultimately is going to be won, especially from an Ireland perspective, because in tight games, Ireland generally don't score all that many points, to actually come over top of teams in the last quarter. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tight one, but my prediction is I'm an Ireland fan, so I'm not going to back against my own team when it is that tight. I need to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go for Ireland, but not by a huge margin.